Hello and welcome everyone to this episode 7 of the Humanity in Flow podcast. I am joined today with our very own Dr. Manijeh Motaghy to explore what it means to lead with mindfulness in a world that rarely slows down. From her early struggles to becoming a global voice for conscious leadership, Manijeh shares insights on resilience, inner clarity, and the power of silence in her new interview with Global Woman magazine. So I am Liz Rothman, an attorney and advisor in the emerging tech, health, and wellness space. And I will toss it over to Manijeh to introduce herself, and then we'll start talking about this wonderful interview that just came out today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Liz. It's congratulations, number 7.
Number
It's,
7, yeah.
yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's always good to, talk about skills and qualities that we all need to have, but rarely have, or we have some of it and not others, or we're not open to it, or we think, oh, that's not for me, I don't have time for this, or stuff like that. But and how we show up in the world, our own development leads to how we show up in the world, how we are leading the world, even if we don't intend to. A lot of times we fall into these roles and responsibilities we didn't even think about we will be doing it. But so yeah, the interview is basically just going through personal development and how I came to develop this mindful life optimization method, and different aspects of it, and how is it useful for anybody, and how does it work with people with ADHD, and lots of different aspects. Um, but basically, my takeaway of my life and work is, it's not easy to be human. Okay. And really getting it, deeply getting it, deeply understanding it, and not judging anybody for one, either they don't have a good time, or easy time to have to make it easy for themselves, or even those who look like it's easy for them, they have it uneasy for in some other aspects, in aspects we don't know, we don't think about, and and so not judging anybody, not being again, like these days, there's so much polarity, right? And I meet people in my circles who want to pull you in one direction, for or against. If you're standing for something, or are you standing against something? And where I stand, my practice, my knowledge, and my offering to the world is not with or against, to just really stand there and be a rock and be an anchor.
Yeah, I think right now there is a lot
Mhm.
of pressure to align yourself with one
Align
uh,
yourself with something.
yeah,
And
with
so,
something, and that thing that you are being asked to align yourself with may shift every day. There's a new
right,
thing
right, thank you.
you should be
Exactly.
aligning yourself with. And so it makes it a very tricky place to maintain your own balance and your own understanding of what is important to you and where you do want to stand in the world when there's a constant pull from a lot of different sources these days too.
Right. If you're not clearly standing against something, you're for that thing. And I don't see it like that, because, I feel like I go under these waves of distraction, and waves of noise, and waves of opinions, and a lot of course there is hardship. Oh my God, of course there is pain and suffering. Oh my God, of course there is difficulty and confusion and all kinds of challenges in the world. And so if we can just stay in the center, so that we could actually respond properly. Because if you're about don't harm, then you should really not harm while you're rooting for not harming. You
Mhm.
know, this is a skill we don't
So this goes to something that I know we've talked about before, and also you talked about in this interview of mentioning that your mission is to transform a billion lives
Wow.
through this kind of mindful leadership, right? That this is, so can you talk a little bit about that, about what inspired that vision, and how you envision achieving the goal?
Well, it's becoming more and more real every day. Like two years ago, it just occurred to me, it just came to me that, okay, we have 8 billion people. We cannot get everybody. Okay, so the foundation of it is that humans need fundamental skills, inner skills at least, right? And qualities to develop in order to be fully functional and harmonious and live fully and fulfilling lives. So, okay, from that basis, how are we going to do this for everybody? No, we can't. So let's just pick a number. Okay, we handle 1 billion people. They can take care of the other ones. They can influence. They can be models. They can teach others. They can be. So it was a vision, a thought that came to me, and I said it, but I haven't had the confidence, to really have my banner, banner in front of me, 1 billion banner, and move with it. But the more time passes and my organization develops collaboration with other organizations who are doing aspects of this with AI organizations with, right, like these days, AI then itself needs to be trained, right, to think like a human. So if the people who are not fully, they don't have an optimized qualities and skills, inner skills to train the AI, the AI will just mimic whatever is already
Yeah, well, and certainly the
faulty.
way that a lot of large language models are trained are utilizing conversational databases such as Reddit, Twitter, things like that, which is where you're not going to find, this kind of more complete thought processes on mindfulness and how you can approach problems in a more rational way. I think is a fair fair statement about those conversational
I mean, how
databases.
is AI trained to know which one is wise, which one is noise, which one is bias? How does AI know what's bias, and not go there? I
Yeah,
mean,
it doesn't.
subtle biases, some
Yeah.
things are obvious, like prejudice is obvious, but
Yeah,
so
well, but AI systems need to be specifically filtered to not have those prejudices, and they largely are still not, even though there's a lot of effort going into doing that because it's trained on human beings' nature, essentially. All of our writing,
and
all of
through
our
human beings who are still biased. Like one of the people was telling, one of my teammates were telling me about this company who is AI, oriented and wants to bring equal and equity and bring the kind of AI that's not going to be biased. So I asked him, does the owner, the founder, the designer, the programmers, all of these, what is their mechanism to manage their own biases? Do they have a mechanism? Do they have a regulation system to manage their own biases? He said, oh, I don't know. I gotta ask
that is
them that.
absolutely the only key question, right? Because if you can't recognize the biases in humans, which largely people cannot, then all those biases just get ingrained into the systems.
And it's so interesting because the person who's well-meaning, they already automatically think that because I'm well-meaning, I don't have any biases.
Right, because they have this idea, and it's a beautiful idea that you could train
Oh,
a system that will not have the biases, but then, we wind up in this situation where humans are not the most reflective on their own actions
yeah,
generally.
not only not, yeah, it's not easy to see it. So a
Yeah.
lot of it is not easy to see. So when people ask me, oh, you have to, what side are you on? Like, no, I will not be biased. I want the well-being of all human beings, even those who are unskillfully causing harm,
Mhm.
you know?
So
So
speaking
this is
of
the
all,
1 billion that's going to include everybody.
yeah. So speaking of all of this noise around us and these pressures to go in certain directions and the, efforts of a lot of people to do good things and where those may or may not lead, how do we take time to reflect on all of these things? And I know that you have gone to quite a few 10-day silent retreats. I have done a few of them myself, not in far too long of time for me. It's been too long, but you just returned from one, and so I'd love to hear, especially in this climate that we're in right now, and so much, so much going on politically, kind of spiritually with people. There's just a lot of movement going on. I would love to hear how that went for you, especially during this time in history.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I had some insights, if you will, but most importantly, it was like cleansing the imprint of fatigue, of being told that we got to do the things this way, we got to do things that way, we got to be posting, we got to be talking, we got to be talking. So going into silence and not having to do that was a gift, and also kind of like laser focuses you. It cleans up all the distraction and you know what's left. What's the value you're rooting for? How are you going about it? Is this thing that you're going about, handling your value or bringing something to the world, is it actually going to do the thing that you think it's going to do? Or is it going to do the opposite? Or what is it? Or what is it? What's your intention? Just constantly going back to cleanse the intention. Is it me, manager, who wants to be somebody in the world? Or is it the thing I feel like people could benefit from and put it out, How can I how can I do this without having to be famous? Can I do this, please, without having to be somebody special?
Mhm. Yeah, I feel that a lot. And I
No?
think that often, especially in this kind of media-driven culture,
Yeah.
you feel like you have to be that figurehead kind of person, that's the only way to get a message across. And it's really, I struggle with the same thing because I don't really
Yeah.
brand myself, in these conversations and doing this kind of work. But I think it is a real, thing to struggle with and to figure out what your motivations are and how you can uh, succeed, in the ways that you want
But
to.
but also I think at least when you go deep under and you quiet down and you listen to some wisdom teachings, you meditate, you're with nature and all that, something could reconcile. So for example, for some time, some period of time, I was hung gung-ho about I don't want to color my hair. I want my hair to, roots come out and just be natural. I want the gray to come out and then, And then my mother and my sister, who are very much into these, professionally into these looking good, sort of. I saw there is a conflict between us. I want to stay this way, and they want to like manage it. No, you look old, you look ugly, you look whatever, whatever. But it's not professional or whatever. And then when I go into these retreats, you see the core heart of it. It's like I realized in one of those retreats, I realized what is the true value you're trying to uphold, manager? What is it with this wanting to look natural and not color your hair? What are you trying to accomplish? Oh, I'm trying to accomplish this wholesome integrity. So that will not be diminished by coloring your hair. If coloring your hair and maintaining this thing would keep the bond and the love and the harmony and balance between you and your family, that's not going to ruin your inner integrity. That's separate. Oh, that's your intention. Oh, okay. You know?
Those voices
But
from others
I
can be very
reconcile. So
loud.
similarly, like with this, I have to be somebody, I have to be famous in order for my message to be taken seriously or be scaled or whatever. You go into these, spaces and there's a conflict within you, and you kind of find what is the intention? Oh, the intention is to help humanity not suffer. This is a human right. So in my retreat this time, it was very clear that it is your human right to know how to listen. It is your human right that somebody else can listen to you properly. I wrote 21 human rights. I wrote them down in my little notebook. And one of them is like, we're going to, all humans are going to face loss and grief. It's your human right to know how to handle this, how
Mhm.
not to suffer for it. It should be your right. It is your right. You should know it, right? So if I come from that place, okay, if I have to get famous in order to advocate for this human right, fine, that's fine.
Mhm.
It's no longer like, okay, I'm dealing with ego boosting. No, I'm not ego boosting,
Mhm.
right? So some of these things become clear during silent time, taking time.
Yeah, I agree that I think that and I would love to do even like a shorter retreat at sometime in the near future,
Yeah.
and that time is such a gift, right? That you when you can take that, and I do take smaller amounts of time,
Well,
periodically.
June 1st, we have a day long. Come over
Okay.
in person. June 1st. One day,
Yeah.
Sunday. Yeah.
But and I think that that time is really, really special. And I do as well have kind of things come together and thought processes
Right.
often form. Sometimes the way that my brain works, I'm a brush with new ideas, right? Of like, okay, now I'm going to do this, this, and this, and then I have to kind of tailor that back a bit. But for people that don't have the time, so first of all, there may be time that people can take to, reflect a lot more than they do, and taking out watching TV or social media or something like that, you might be able to find the time. But in the sort of general high stress environments that most people live in, how do you recommend that people try to reflect and maintain some sort of mindfulness, and what can they do to achieve a little bit of what we're talking about here?
Yeah, so questions are good. If we're not going intensely into these, taking time to do these things. First of all, once I did that, the first time I did that, sorry, my phone is on. The first time I did that, it was so difficult. And it was so like I saw the monsters in, of emotions and darkness and fears and all that. And I saw the beauty, like I was thrown into the ocean without having skills. But after that, every time I think about vacation, I'm not going to spend time and go anywhere that instead I could spend that time to go be with me. Be with me. Oh my God, who better? To be the company of who is better than me to be with? And really with no distractions, spend time with. So that becomes a desire when a person experiences it and they continue. But let's say you haven't done it and you can't, take time to go do it, asking a question from yourself. What is my value? Like when you have a conflict with anybody about anything, like with my mom and sister, they look at me like, oh, you need your roots to be colored. Oh, manage them. Like, okay, I need this conflict to be over and done with.
Mhm.
I go and look at my own. Why am I standing on this principle? What is this principle giving to me? So you ask a question for yourself, right? And then you just don't answer it. You can just go for a walk, the quiet time, go for a walk and really open your heart to the other people, other person's perspective, other person's need. Why are they insisting on their understands. Sometimes it happens that people misunderstand me when they say, "Oh my God, did you hear in the news such and such has happened?" I say, "Why?" And they're like, "What do you mean, why?" Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, it's horrible. I should say it's horrible, it's terrible. Oh my God. But I don't want to fall into emotional reactivity and lose the objectivity. Because if I know why, is there a specific reason why? Then I can actually come back with a maybe come back with a solution for it. So this whys, jumping into assumption and conclusion and not ever asking, why is this happening? Why is this law being changed? Why? And just saying, okay, this is because.
Mhm.
Whether you were for it or against it, I don't know. So putting a question about your own mind, your own stance, your own conviction, why? What are you trying to accomplish with it? What's the heart of it? And then don't answer it and just go about your day and see what shows up.
Mhm.
That's one way for people who just don't want to take time or don't have time to.
Don't have the time. Yeah, asking those questions and trying to reflect as much as you can on your own and what other people. I think that
Yeah.
that's something that I try to do a lot is put myself into the shoes of the other person and say, why are they acting this way? And sometimes it leads to me giving too much of a benefit of the doubt to those people as well, or over rationalizing what maybe other people are doing. But I think it's very valuable skill and
I mean,
very
this is
valuable for.
something that's, commonly exercised with different kinds of traditions and practices. But there are simple things we could do. And the idea is to really be honest and be willing. Be willing to see that, oh, yeah, there is a little contamination in my intention. There's a little, thing that I want to harm somebody, or I want them to not be happy, and you look at it and you see, okay, where is it going to lead? How is
Yeah.
it not?
And then I think, a little bit of a tangent off of this, but a very, very important. We were just talking about AI and like social media algorithms, and that is doing the opposite of what most people need, right? The like getting involved in these cycles of information that are coming at you very, very fast, often with very little information, and really amplifying your responses to it will take you farther away, I think, from being able to do that kind of reflection or understanding where the
I
core.
call them fuel for fire.
Mhm.
If there is a spark of little spark within you, and all of a sudden this fuel is thrown, we have a responsibility to protect ourselves, to
Mhm.
protect the harmony within us, to protect our sense of honesty, sense of integrity. It's like one of the things I wrote is like it's your right as a human right. It's your right to know that your mind, your brain is going to put you on autopilot. The moment you pick up a habit or a way of thinking, that's going to be automatic. Watch out.
Mhm.
What do you want to become automatic? So, you know,
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. So, in the last couple of minutes here, do you want to talk about your MLO program and what?
MLO program. Well, these are, yeah, mindful life optimization is composed of three domains that I believe, have fundamental lessons under them: systems, natural and constructed, planet, what it is and our responsibility, and the human, what's going on with humanity. And so there are courses, there are retreats, there are different mentoring opportunities, and people becoming certified professional counselors, certified to go and bring these methods and these lessons into any environment they want. Also, there is a 5-stage optimization. So, like, how am I going to do it? It's not just knowledge, because there is a lot of knowledge that's thrown out to people. And how will I do this? How will I change my ways of life or thinking? There is a system within it too. And then in the book that's coming out, It's Not Easy to Be Human. Actually, they did the line editing, the final, sent it to me again for approval. When I was reviewing that, I'm just done. It's going to be going in for design and all that now. I realized, oh my goodness, I have 6 methods, 6 models that I have brought into. MLO is the kind of umbrella,
Mhm.
HSO, which is a human software optimization. Then we have PAM, which is preventative accountability model. Then there is RIMS, which is regenerative integration management system. It's like there is a lot of, and then there is this economy, circular anxiety economy, which is economy based on anxiety, you know, and lots of and so there's a lot to compact it into this book that we're going to sort of start rolling them out through any avenue that people can benefit from.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Do you know roughly when the release date's going to be?
They haven't given me a date because they were waiting for this line editing to be
Okay.
done.
So
And so,
coming soon.
so I think sometimes in June, I believe,
Oh,
hopefully.
okay. That's not too long.
Yeah, yeah, because it's going for design now. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
But
Well, thank
thank
you
you
so
for
much
this
for
conversation.
thank you for chatting about this. And this has been
Yeah.
episode 7 of the Humanity and Flow podcast.
Encouraging everyone to stay steady and kind. Yeah, yeah.
All
Thank you.
right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.